Hello, welcome to the Conjecture Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Douglas, and this is our third episode ever. How exciting is that? Okay, this episode is myself and two of my three other bandmates in Sparky, Jon and Nealz. And in this, our third episode, we're driving to Calgary on our way to Calgary Metalfest. This is the morning of June 6th, 2015. And Graham was in another vehicle because he was also playing with his other band, Lava Goat, so he drove up with them. But anyway, we thought we'd test this podcast technology, dip our toes in this pool, and I thought I would throw this together. So I brought my little recorder and a couple microphones, and we had a chat, and maybe there's something in there interesting that might interest you. Maybe there's nothing at all. But listen, let us be background fodder in your in the pool of your mind. Here you go. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Conjecture time. All right. I'll catch you in the outro.
Check it out.
Hey, good morning, Nealz. You hear
Good
yourself?
morning.
I hear you.
How's those headphones?
They're working, but we can only use one pair. But I'm not going to keep them the whole time. I'm just kind of using them to monitor, check signals. So just put those somewhere safe.
Put this in here. Okay. Where are we?
New highway.
Where are we?
We're on Highway 7.
Where are we going?
We're going to Calgary.
Why?
We're going to the Calgary Metalfest.
When was Calgary founded?
18-something-43?
Wrong. It was founded billions of years ago. It just wasn't called Calgary yet.
Is it really? Do you know much about the history of Calgary?
No, but it's part of the planet.
Not if you're talking about Calgary
Earth.
specific.
I know.
Calgary itself.
No, just the spot. Relative to the magnetic field.
That's what I was thinking about, actually. It was like whether or not there was some kind of like significance to that area or specific place. I mean, obviously there's the forks of the river there. Aren't there three rivers that have their confluence in Calgary?
I have no idea.
Yeah, like the Bow. Oh, the Bow. One of the other two. I don't know. Bow Valley.
Deerfoot. Maybe the Deerfoot River along the trail.
Maybe. I don't know. Get your Google map out. Give you all the answers.
I don't know. Huge city. But we're going there to play Metalfest today. That's what we're doing. When's the last time we played?
That we played? The last time we played was at our CD release show in September.
That was the last show we played?
That was the last show we played.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Time goes by fast. Oh, dang. Nealz,
Good morning.
what's it like being a daddy?
How are you?
I said what? Oh, I guess you can't hear me in the headphones.
Tell you what.
What's it like
This
being a daddy?
seatbelt here doesn't actually hold me back into the seat, so I can actually move right up.
Perfect.
Where I'm sitting in the back seat of John's big luxury car here.
Especially when you take it off.
Well, I guess I'm a bit of a rebel that way, aren't I?
Do you have a cause?
Always been.
Aren't I?
Is there any reason you're doing this, Neal?
Oh, so I can hear you guys because I don't have headphones and
For the ladies, the old ladies.
old lady. So yeah. So we're on the highway. Looks like it's on
Blacktop.
blacktop,
Smooth.
resurfaced highway.
Yeah, and this is one of those spots where you always have to really obey the speed limit because they nab people here.
They sure do.
Right? Anywhere between here and Rosetown, basically?
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially if your back window of your van and insulation is flying out of it
Yeah.
the whole way.
That happens.
Between shreds of fiberglass insulation and trails of marijuana smoke.
Allegedly.
Illegal
said.
drugs.
Apparent alleged RCMP attractants.
My story is that we had skunk farts.
Well, I mean, if you eat skunk meat, now that's likely to happen.
And that's a whole nother can of worms I didn't want to open up because I didn't know if it was legal to hunt skunk in that area.
Well, I mean, whether or not we actually did, I mean, if you find something on the road and it's wet and it's meat, like that, I don't know. I think that's fair game. That skunk was already dead.
That's totally fair. He's dead and his meat should be reabsorbed.
I'm just participating in the circle of life as I think God would want me to do.
Especially if the meat's already wet. Like, what are you going to let it just sit there and dry and then, ants are going to eat it or something?
You could have waited for skunk jerky, but either way, you're doing the skunk an honor in returning it to the spirit world through its energy passing through you.
It's like you're giving it consciousness again. It's almost a waste if you think of any animal like a cow that can just, or like an ant that can just fucking eat whatever crumbs and shit. It's almost a waste for them to get the good stuff, that like, hey, we need like this or this or this. We're kind of picky with our diet, whereas there's other things like crows and shit can just eat anything. They're pecking French fries out of parking lots and eating bugs and worms.
Well, cows do have 4 stomachs or 6. I think it's 4.
Yes, I think they're quadristomize. Yeah.
It's an even number. I know that.
Different channels.
I knew that.
Different channels to.
Oh, coppers. Here's our first
Encounter.
sighting here of the popo.
And I don't even have my seatbelt on.
Yeah. Oh, second sighting of popo.
Are they on motorcycles too?
Turning around? They're looking.
I'm just gonna sit back here. If you guys,
They're looking for. You sit back there with your seatbelt. I hope they turn in front of us, or go the other way.
Going well under the speed limit.
I'm gonna put my microphone down just so I don't look like something they want to check out.
I don't think it's illegal to have a microphone.
maybe
Definitely not illegal. I just don't want to draw any attention.
That cop had a microphone.
That cop had a mic
Yeah, too.
on a bike. Mic on a bike. So that was actually over there. There was 2 cops as well. There was one in a actual cop car and one in a ghost SUV, and then there's this bike cop and another one in an SUV. So 4 cops. Our first
Just to
15 minutes.
in and out of the town of Vanscoy.
Just sorry, say that again.
Just to nail people coming in and out of the town of Vanscoy.
That's right. Well, Vanscoy's history.
I do know that it was founded on a smoldering pile of potash, and that it remains the same to this day. I don't know about the time that happened, but that's about what I know about it.
That's more than I knew. I didn't know anything about their history.
I believe it was
a leading question.
If you look to your north, just over this rise, you might still see remnants of that smoldering pile of potash in the distance. Just wait for these trees to clear, and you'll see the orange ochre hills. Oh, there they are now.
Oh yeah, I see that every day by my place. But how would they be smoldering? Do they ever get burned?
Well, I mean, when they drag them up from underground, it causes quite a lot of friction, and I assume that sometimes potash fires start, and they're quite dangerous, and men have been known to come flailing, running, screaming, shooting up from out of the mine shaft on fire with potash burns. It's an epidemic.
It burns at what temperature does potash burn at?
4,800 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's right. So it takes quite an ignition to really to really get it going. But once it's going, it's going.
It's extremely hot. It's much hotter than Ray Bradbury's novel about paper burning, if you remember that one.
Real hot. I smelled a little bit of that skunky back there. Did you get that little taste of that?
I smell that.
A road skunky? Unless it was the guy in front of us. You never know. Hey, did you guys hear this? There's some, and I'm, summarizing a summary, but there was some scientific experiment done, like within the last week or something, that basically, it's like quantum theory got through the next level of testing. Like they've confirmed that that waves don't exist unless they're being observed. So it's like basically reality is only what we're looking at all the time. It's only there for the observers. The tree doesn't make a sound if no one's there to hear it. The tree rings don't exist if you don't cut into it. So that's like that's what it funnels down to. But yeah, something about this, some test that they did, firing particles through helium. I don't know. I'd have to read the actual study, but
that's crazy though. Isn't that kind of suggests that the processes of the universe wouldn't have continued unless there were organisms or whatever to observe them?
I don't think it necessarily means the processes don't occur, but they don't show themselves until you look. If you look right, there's something about
they have to have a physical manifestation. They have to have a physical manifestation in order to happen, but they don't. Yeah, that's are you sound waves specifically, vibrations?
Well, your thoughts are happening without any, trace of it. We can't measure it. I don't know. Maybe if we could get it down in there in the fluid in some way, we could see a little something going on. But it's there's something to it. One thing that I heard about it was so with these particles, when they observe them, it's like they didn't make any trail of their path, of the wave. The wave doesn't appear until you look at where the particle is, and then it shows, and then you can see the history of it. I don't know. I can't really explain it.
I'm pretty sure they have some glasses that they can then perceive what you're looking for.
I have glasses.
Special glasses, not like X-ray glasses, but this will see all the radio waves and the waveforms and everything like that. And I'm pretty sure they have that for sure. That's the truth.
So when you say all the radio waves,
all, pretty much all.
I think if we were seeing all the radio waves, we would just be blinded all the time, right? Because it's everywhere. There's different spectrums overlapping.
That's why you need the glasses. They're kind of like sunglasses.
So you take them off, and then
because it would hurt your eyes. You need those glasses.
Too bright.
Need to purchase those glasses. You can't purchase them though, because
says the X-ray glasses salesman.
Yeah, they're expensive, but I bought Ray-Bans, the polarized ones, because I know they would benefit my eye. It's a little bit, because if I wear cheaper glasses, my eyes, they hurt. My left retina, they always get a headache in the left eye, right? So then I spent a little bit more money and I got the Ray-Ban polarized, and that's kind of the same way with these special glasses that I don't know what they're actually called or how they're made. And I actually haven't heard anything about these glasses being made, but I think they should make them with the technology that they have, because they have the technology to, know the date of a dime from the moon. And do I know that for sure? Is that a fact? Yeah, I heard it more than once, so I'm pretty sure it happened. So yeah.
That's the standard, is because you've heard something on
more
than
than
one
once.
that's
and it was on the internet.
Fact.
It was on the internet.
I heard on more than one occasion that there was one time here, we're just pulling into the town of Delisle, where you got into the skunk meat.
Oh.
And you had to lay on the side of the road because you got sick from the skunk meat.
That was the green out of 07 or 06?
06. Do you recall that, or was it washed from your memory by the skunk toxins?
I just remember. I think we just recorded British Pina.
That's
Pina.
Just finished the mix. And
just finished the mix.
Hours.
Popped it in the van.
Out.
Yeah, I
was literally
all nighting it.
And we're like, okay, we're all in the van, heading on our tour, Western tour, I believe, Western and East tour, and we're like, well, let's listen to the album front to back. And as soon as I heard Metro, there was a tone that just it felt like
an intense feedback at the end of that song. There's
yes,
Chris Douglas is emanating some feedback from his guitar amplifier.
And when I was in the skunk meet there, I actually literally, it felt like I saw that feedback shoot into my right ear.
So you saw the wave.
I saw the wave, yeah, and I didn't even have the glasses.
That was pre-glasses.
That was pre-glasses.
Wow.
And then I told the guys I need to get out of the van, and they weren't stopping right away. And I said I need to get out, and I just remember opening the door, and I don't know if it was.
Right over here. It was right about here. Right
It was-
where we are right now.
It was just past the town.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the
No,
town.
there was no. We weren't right by the stores or
This is a
anything.
nice town. And I think I like fell out, like I somersaulted out, and I remember like a bunch of hands kind of holding me, so my
Remember
head
dumping
went.
water on you.
And then all of a sudden I woke up, and I just remember I saw everyone standing around me having a smoke, and Grandma having a smoke, looking out into the highway. In one hand he was holding a smoke in his mouth, and then the other hand he was holding a water bottle, like not even looking at me, but just pouring it on me.
That's right.
And I look up, and he's pouring it on me, and it just felt like the best thing in the world because it was a hot day.
Reviving you with
And I was
those
just revived.
essential fluids of life.
It felt so good.
Yeah, you don't eat a lot of skunk meat, but when you do, you have.
Yeah.
This is a story to tell.
It's the best way to do it.
A roadside baptism is necessary to revive you.
Yeah.
You were
So
reborn
Grandma baptized me.
by skunk meat and
Thanks,
water
Grandma,
that
by
day.
the way.
For the
Thank you.
baptism.
Thanks for baptizing me. Again.
So
Rebirth.
Back to the particle theory.
Yeah.
With these glasses. So these are in the R&D stage with the hoverboard still being worked out. You think, or they should be? They are.
well,
This is a dream you have.
I know the
This is a-
hoverboard is a for sure thing.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that on YouTube.
Yeah,
So-
you saw it on YouTube, and it's just it's like they made these things already. They're just not, they're not attainable right now. I wish they were, so I can go. I wish I could go to a department store and purchase them. But they wouldn't be. It wouldn't be very special, would it?
No.
Would it?
Suppose not.
Have you guys heard about the guy? I think it's happened more than once, but there's kind of a famous case of a guy filling up helium balloons and tying himself to his lawn chair and like cutting he had like a pellet gun with him.
Yeah.
He was I think it was in California somewhere, San Diego, somewhere around there. And he, so he had this idea, he's sitting in his backyard drinking beer or whatever, and he had this fucking great idea to tie a bunch of balloons to he had an easy chair, and he got these like pretty, big ass, they must have been kind of industrial balloons, bunch of them, filled them with helium, started to lift them off the ground, and he had a rope tied to his truck, and he was like, holy shit, like this is cool, like, he's floating like above his neighborhood, above his house, like looking down. He thought this is fucking awesome, and I'll go a little bit higher. So he had a plan to brought a BB gun with him, so if he got too high, he could shoot some of the balloons. He had a whole bunch of these balloons, shoot a few, and then he would start to descend, and it'd all be good. He had a little bit of lunch with him. I think he had a sandwich. Didn't say what kind, but
It's important.
so he gets in there. He gets in his chair and he gets brave and he cuts the rope and he's floating away, and before he knows it, he's in the fucking stratosphere, gets spotted by a jet, and they report him to air traffic control, and they fucking military planes went up to get him, like they're helicopters and shit trying to get him, but the wind was too strong, blowing him away. And they saw he had a gun too, so they're like, what the fuck, there's this guy floating around with a gun in space with balloons and an easy chair.
How did he let himself get so high? Why didn't he shoot some of the balloons earlier?
Something happened that I forget, like
His gun jammed.
no, it was like I can't remember in the story now. It's like as he took off, like
it kind of jarred him, and he took off faster than he thought. So, like, I don't know if he dropped the bullets or something, or like, because he still had the gun, but something jarred him in that he wasn't really
Scramble fighter jets to get this guy tied to a fucking lawn chair.
Yeah, I think this was in the 90s or something.
So did
I thought it was a year or two ago. I remember hearing about this in the news, but yeah, it's just funny. You imagine these jets buzzing a guy floating in a lawn chair. What are they going to do? How are they going to like corral him?
Well, the jets, they should have shot at the balloons.
They could have helped.
Could have taken him down with a drone easily these days. Remote control.
That's how you know that this was in the 90s, is that they would have just sent a drone if it were today.
Yeah, maybe. That would make sense, At least to surveillance, Just go see what's going on, especially if someone's scared of getting shot at.
I'm not going to waste the fucking jet fuel for a jet and the, a fighter's wage to send some guy out, That's a huge waste of money.
Yeah, just send a fucking remote control drone out there and with a camera, a microphone. Hey, what the fuck are you doing up here?
How many balloons were holding the guy in the chair?
I'm not sure. You can look it up for details.
More than 6?
google.com. Type in balloon chair, flight, guy, gun, and it'll come right up in the top 4.
It's funny, when you talked about the helium balloons, my first thought in my head was a bunch of like birthday balloons, like
clown stuff.
40 of them, all different colors, and that would look kind of cool. You ever watch the movie Up?
No.
It's an animated movie, and I think one balloon or a bunch of balloons were carrying a house.
They actually...
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
The guy the story of Up was based on a guy who actually refused to sell his home, and it's like downtown Seattle or something, and there are like skyscrapers on either end of the house.
It's still there.
It's still there to this day, but I'm not sure if he just like willed the house to someone else or sold it, but pending a part of the sales conditions was that the new purchasers don't demolish the home, something to that effect. Again, Google it.
I did Google that, and it shows like they want to put a mall, and like it's like right around this small house in the middle of the street. Looks pretty cool. Maybe Chris could Google it now if he wants to.
No, I was just checking to see if Grandma messaged me at all.
Oh.
We are leaving on 22. We are on 22 leaving now. Oh, on the 22nd. He just left out the ND to save time. I get it.
Yeah, so that's like I thought it was a bunch of like clown balloons, different colors. Now look cool. But where would a guy get these balloons?
Probably
like
go
what
to a
kind of
hobby shop and get some like kind of more like robust weather balloon type things, or some kind of little hobby hot air balloon kits or something. I don't know.
Like the dude that floated his chair up into the stratosphere, like it's gotta be really fucking cold up there. How did those balloons not just explode under minus 30, minus 40, whatever it is up there? I don't know.
It's pretty cold. I went not bungee jumping, skydiving.
Dove out of the sky,
and it was only like, what was it, 10 to 12,000 feet in the sky. It was a hot day on the ground.
When did you skydive?
In 2010.
Really?
11.
Wow.
Something like that. I have a video.
I vaguely remember this now.
Did you see a video?
I don't know if I ever saw it, but yeah, I'd love to do
I don't think... Have you seen the video, Chris?
I have not seen the video.
I have the video. I
saw the disc. I did see the disc.
The cover?
Sitting at your house. So I saw the video on a digital medium sitting there.
Okay.
But I didn't see it spinning with a laser interpreting the video.
Yeah.
I did not see it either.
Like I said, when it was pretty hot on the ground, as soon as we went up, it was really, really cold. Really, really cold.
Yeah, they say the hot air rises, but I don't know.
Once you're into that, the thinner air, I think, had something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, it must only rise to a certain elevation, and then when the air thins out...
Well, there's the convection effect, right? Like, it goes up to a certain point, but then it cycles back down.
Yeah, we all know that.
All of us. It probably depends on the elevation of the place, too.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Good point.
Thanks. Point for me.
10 points.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to take out my notebook. I was going to keep score.
So, Did this guy?
Fail.
I know you know a little bit more about this. I will probably Google it later on
Balloon guy.
when I have some downtime. But yeah, I'm pretty interested about this balloon guy. Like I almost want to attempt this, but like with you said an easy chair. Like those are heavy chairs. I was thinking like a lawn chair or something.
Maybe it was a hybrid, like a lawn chair that folds into an easy chair.
Like an easy chair. Those are pretty heavy. Depends like if you got a lazy boy or I don't know.
I'm gonna find this out right now, Nealz.
I know I have a leather chair at home, and it folds out, so it'd be pretty comfortable going up in the air. And I was wondering if he had some kind of breathing apparatus going that high in the air. Like it would be pretty thin.
Yeah, I don't think he thought that. I think he thought he was just gonna go like maybe 100 feet or something. You know, not 10,000 or whatever he did. I don't know if that's the stratosphere. I like that word, and I know it's up there.
Stratosphere is pretty high.
It must be. It's got to be. Larry Walters. Consists of an ordinary patio chair with 45 helium-filled weather balloons.
Oh, yes.
So there you go, Nealz. We got balloon numbers, 45.
Nice.
His name's Larry Walters.
Color balloons?
Well, see, these are all just,
okay.
you know, this isn't the image of the actual thing. This is other people doing it, copying Larry. Larry was
did other people achieve this too? Or Larry was the first one?
Definitely. But Larry was the first one, and he got, immediately charged and arrested because in airspace, fucking around. You're not supposed to be in the airspace probably without authorization. 16,000 feet. The man who soared 16,000 feet.
Birds don't have authorization.
That's right. That's how I feel about it. Cops, if you're a human, they're hard on you.
What is the what part of the atmosphere or whatever is? What was it? 16,000 feet.
Yeah.
He went that high?
Well, that's not stratosphere for sure.
No.
Yeah,
pretty
like
high,
commercial jetliners do like 40, 50,000 feet, and they're still in the atmosphere.
1982.
82. Is that what it says? I'm looking at it's weird when you Google something because a bunch of things will come up of the same thing, and you can see all these different little angles of it sometimes without even digging into it. Nah, fuck it. This is just like a truth or fiction page. It's a whole bunch of this kind of shit now. Oh, okay. No, it is this story. Yeah, 82. Larry Walters. Okay, I'll give you some details on it. So they say, he was a truck driver in Southern California. July 2nd, 82. He fastened 42 surplus balloons to a lawn chair and launched from his girlfriend's San Pedro home. He carried various supplies with him as well as a CB radio and a BB gun to shoot balloons one at a time to descend. He didn't realize how powerful the buoyancy of the balloons was when he cut a rope holding him to terra firma. He took off with such a jolt that another rope broke under stress, and he shot upwards so quickly that his eyeglasses flew to the ground. He lost his glasses. He floated around the LA basin for several hours and reached altitudes of up to 16,000 feet. Cool. According to an article in the New York Times, the next day, Walters was spotted by pilots from both TWA and Delta Airlines. It was cold at 16,000 feet, and he started shooting some of his balloons to descend, but dropped his BB gun and had to wait for his rig to come down on its own. He landed in a residential neighborhood in Long Beach, where he got tangled in some power lines, causing a blackout. He told reporters that his weather balloon flight had been a dream of more than 20 years. Larry Walters died 11 years after his flight from what the Los Angeles Times described as self-inflicted gunshot wound. Whoa, that's got a
badass.
It's got a nasty ending.
Yeah, it's too bad he killed himself, but I don't know. Maybe he was happy to go out that way. Maybe.
Or it's a conspiracy.
Yeah, you go flying around with the balloons in a chair, buddy.
Yeah, you just wait 10 years. We're gonna pop you when nobody expects it.
You're gonna be hanging on your back porch, and somebody going to be just hunting in the distance, and oops, we shot you between the eyes.
That's what seemed to happen.
That happened to someone that was involved in the JFK trial.
There was a lot of crazy deaths after that trial. A lot of mysterious deaths of people related to JFK.
Yeah. It was
Close to him.
Yeah, I don't remember the person in particular, but yeah, there was somebody involved in that trial who was just hanging out on their back porch and got shot like square between the eyes. And apparently what they determined was that it was a hunter who was just hunting off of their backyard or whatever.
Hunting off the grassy knoll.
Yeah. Just so happened to shoot the guy square between the eyes.
This guy. And was he like who was the guy?
Yeah, it's gonna bug me now, but I'm driving. I'm not about to Google it.
Right. All right.
That's the pitfall of this era. You know, the last time I probably referenced that story, it was the same thing. Oh, I'll just Google it. Be a while. Immediately forget all the pertinent details.
Yeah. It's like today's day and age, more than ever, it's easy to be like a master of, or not, not a master of nothing and a knower of a little bit of everything because I can Google the details later. I just have to remember what the cool part was, and then I'll look up the details.
That's right. I think Einstein said something about that, but I don't remember.
Right. He said a lot of things, man. It's the one thing, imagination is,
More important than knowledge or something?
yeah, that's exactly it.
I like that quote.
The important science guy.
Imagination is more important than knowledge.
Driving on that rumble strip, getting that rumble through the car, yeah.
Yeah, if you think about that, because knowledge is just something that's already out there, right? It's just something you pick up and remember or understand, whereas imagination is the ability to spark new ideas and thoughts. So yeah, that should be more important.
Yeah, well, I mean, you need a base of knowledge to act off of as well. They go hand in hand. They're opposite sides of the same coin kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess it's just the established and the one that's still growing. You need to have the foundation to launch from.
Yeah, there's an important argument, I think, it's even cliche that people say that like you can get too constrained by the rules and laws of a certain discipline that you can't think abstractly, but that in itself is too easy. That's why it's cliche, because like, you look at abstract work, like abstract painters like a Jackson Pollock or something like that, right? Those people aren't amateurs, they're professionals. They know the ins and outs of that discipline, and then they can apply that to something abstractly. I don't know, that's what legitimizes that kind of abstract art. But I don't know, I mean, there's still any kind of like counterculture punk movements against anything. It's just like any expression is valid, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and it really comes down to, like with all art, it's just, it's something to the artist, but great art is just, it all comes down to people's perception, how many people. I was thinking about this earlier, just with celebrities, how weird it is that certain people, if you were around George Clooney, you'd just be like, kind of like, oh, what's he doing? Like you just, something would change if somebody's around a huge celebrity, that they had that polarizing thing. And it's only because that everybody knows them. And I don't know, it's like there's this demand in them that they've been paid lots, that everybody knows them. And it's not like this person's just so compelling that you can't help but like, kind of step off a little bit from them or something, but just something about that they've already got that pull. They've already established. Everyone's agreed. Everyone's looking in the same direction. So it's like the river's flowing that way. So it makes them polarizing.
Well, it's well known that George Clooney is a great prankster. So
he's fucking handsome too.
You never know what that handsome Loki type is gonna do. But yeah, no, for sure. Like a person who's that like has that kind of value around them that they can command millions of dollars in entertainment money. Like, yeah, naturally people are gonna shut up and look in the direction of the biggest fish in the room. So
yeah, and just that, I don't know why I got to that from art, but just same kind of thing. If a lot of people look at it and everyone agrees that they, this makes me feel good, or I enjoy looking at this, or this means something to me. If a lot of people do it, then it's valid, right? If a couple people do it, it's valid to them. Maybe even that relates to the experiment of the particle wave thing. Like if you're not looking at it, it doesn't manifest or it doesn't show itself. It's kind of the same thing. Once everybody starts looking, then it really shows itself. We're looking at, we've got all the different angles. Like every person's a different angle of it, so you've got light shining on it from every direction. Just makes it powerful.
So kind of the same thing with like bands and stuff. Like there's bands that are like way better than like the Tools, the Faith No Mores, or whatnot, but no one knows about them, and no one knows or cares, but because we know that there's more people kind of looking in the direction of those bands, or because they have more light over them.
We're certainly operating in kind of a vacuum, though. Like nowadays, you think about, okay, on that 40th anniversary SNL special, Seinfeld came out, and he made a comment to Larry David that kind of is like analogous with what I'm getting at. Is like he made the comment that it was like something to the effect of like there was like a perfect storm, like perfect conditions for a show like Seinfeld at the time, and you could kind of make that same argument about bands in the 60s and 70s, that like there couldn't be another Beatles or U2 or whatever, those huge bands like the Stones and the Who and Zeppelin and whatever. Because nowadays the market is so much more spread, and there's so much less share in general. Like people aren't buying music like that, and so like there can't be, like, there'll be maybe one or two dominating musicians, but they don't really mean as much to as many people. Like Taylor Swift sold the most amount of albums in the world last year, and I mean, the market share is, I suppose, arguably what the Beatles was in the early part of their career, but it's, I don't know, I don't think the universal appeal is quite the same. There's so much more, there's so many more bands now that music has spread as an industry, but yeah, there's so many channels. It's like in the 60s or 50s or whatever, when there's 3 channels on the TV, everybody watched the Carson show or whatever. So like, it's like everybody can go to work and you're talking about the same thing, and the musical guest, because there's just a funnel for media that comes to this point, and you can either like this one or this one. Yeah, you don't have that infinite realm of possibility. Like you can just find any niche art or music that you want, and also that's like that comes up sometimes in my mind, like how you gravitate towards the things you like. You check out things that you like, and now more than ever, like, it's a lot easier to just expand your own bubble, and stay in it, and look at and listen to what you like, and is that good or is that bad? Because you can expand your little spectrum. You don't have to go out as much. I don't know. Like you can stay in your basement and experience the world, not really experience the world, but through your computer. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Well, I was thinking, going back to that TV thing, like back in the 50s or 60s, when they only got like 2 to 3 channels, and if you're talking to older people, talking about events and stuff that happened, or even up to now, like the 9/11. Older people, they would, if it's, of course it happened because it was on the news. And I think back in the day, not so much now, but the news is pretty much the gospel. Well, yeah, of course it happened because it was on TV. It was on the news. And that's when I was working with a bunch of old people back in 2010 to 2011 or 2012.
You talking about at the old folks home?
I was working at a retirement home.
That was before, no, because I was there in like 09, 10. You were there before me.
Okay.
It was just in the last decade.
Okay.
That's important to document.
Okay.
All right, go on.
Anyways, and just talking about, I got into a lot of conversations with them because I didn't really want to work, or I didn't really know how to fix their sink and whatnot, or their toilet.
control
Well, maybe I
VCR.
did, but I just really wanted to have coffee and cookies with them and look at their old pictures of their farm homestead.
And not touch the VCR remote that was covered in lotion.
No. And then so I got into some really interesting conversations, a lot of different perspectives of their age and what they accomplished in their life, and some of them were pretty. Some of them were, really had a full life and had a perspective, and then another old person had other perspective of things in life. I don't know where I'm getting at with this, but TV is the gospel in that day,
Really
that day and age.
Seemed to
right?
bring that whole generation together.
Yeah.
They would all have the same thing
The
to
funnel
talk about
thing
at the
you're
water
talking
cooler.
about.
Everyone knows, the Carson guests and those few shows that were on all the time, and the old comedies, or Archie Bunker or whatever shit was playing in the whatever decade we're talking about, 50s, 60s, 70s. It's way less media. So is that, I don't know, do you feel like that commonality is good, that narrowing is good, that it brings more people together to relate to? Or maybe
In a way, yes and no. Like, okay, in doing some, like, looking at old newspapers, you look at old newspapers from like the 20s and the 30s and whatnot, and they actually have they'll have like little tidbits about like so and so went to town. It'll be like Harry had to go to a doctor's appointment in Saskatoon. Like I've had to look at newspapers from like small towns in Saskatchewan, and it was reportable news when somebody would leave their small town like Wilkie or Unity and go an hour and a half to Saskatoon, or they tell these stories in their local newspapers. So there's like just that sense of community and like the knowledge that like, well, okay, did this person come home? How was their travel and whatnot? And that's good, because I mean, just in the sense of like knowing the people in your community and actually caring about one another. The obverse of that, or the opposite of that, the other side of it, is the like privacy issue. There's like sort of there's going to be the kind of exclusion of people based on like you have to fit also within the ideals and norms and values of this community. So there's that, right? Living in a small town, you're not going to be able to get away from all these other people. But in our modern age, though, like having all our TV piped in from the other side of the country or from another country, I guess the argument is, well, what's our culture? Do we have our own culture? And then again, living in a country like Canada, where you're like a colonial fallout country, you really have to fight to retain your own individual culture, aside from just saying like, oh, I'm Canadian, quote unquote, air quotes, and I don't necessarily have a cultural identity aside from the fact that I live in this country and I go to these schools and I'm given this sort of secular democratic value set, but I don't, like, what is my ethnicity?
Yeah, I just was thinking about that, people being so involved in each other's lives, like that small community mindedness, and like we said, people writing in the newspaper about somebody takes a trip to another town or whatever, like it's a big deal. And yeah, I don't know, there's something endearing about that everybody cares about each other, but at the same time it's you're kind of reporting on each other. It could get gossipy, of course. And I feel the same way about church, in that it's I love seeing the people come together, just that they have a regular thing where they have community, you see each other, you don't fall out of touch. It really is good to be around people and be around community and keep in touch. But then it always comes back to, okay, there's this thing that's bringing us all together, but then you start to if you look at the thing and the people that don't agree with the thing, like sometimes you like just the togetherness. And then I relate that same thing to alcohol a lot, and that, like, I hate when parties or gatherings, just the focus just shifts to the booze, and it's like, whoa, we're supposed to be here first and this is a part of it. But when that focus shifts to that, kind of just like the church thing when everyone's just, it's all, you're all sinners and you're just be thankful you're here, Jesus saved you and stuff. But it's more about, I just find the what comes of it is that everyone's together, just the community. The togetherness is the cool part. It's not the religion itself or not the booze. It's not the town. It's just the people. It's just the within.
It was always the best aspect of those gatherings is the idea of community, right? Is just people coming together. But there's always sort of, I suppose, that sort of seedy underbelly of a monopoly of attention where what is motivating this specific gathering. And yeah, for some it's going to be church, and that's fine, but the seedy underbelly of that could be how it becomes exclusionary, where you're not at least in a Christian flock, you're not supposed to be judging others. But I'm sure, from my own experience, and I'm sure from many other people, they can say that was one of the things that they found was really, I don't know, like the worst thing about that gathering was that it was exactly it was hypocritical. It was the exact opposite of what it was supposed to be. And yeah, for a party, say it's alcohol or any drug, right? Like you're not there to be together anymore. You're there for specifically another purpose. And you can make a relativist argument on that too, that people are still getting together and having a good time doing their whatever. It's just like, I guess you have to draw the line at where does it become harmful, and then harmful for who, and harmful how, and that can spiral in infinity.
Yeah, it's all a balancing act. And same thing when you get together for supper. It can be there's the gathering, and then you can just be gluttonous and be like, no, it's about the food right now, and it's a balancing. You're riding the line. You're there for both purposes, but there's perks on both sides.
I snort the turkey.
I kind of balanced both of those things. When I was in high school, within hours actually, I went to a bush party, got really, really drunk. The focus was booze, of course, and you're just standing around a big, huge bonfire, as long as you got your booze and whatnot. And then I got really drunk, and I started kind of juggling a kid that was smaller than me over the bonfire. And about 3 hours later, this kid was an altar server at church the next morning, and I was sitting front row because my parents always sit front row center at church. We're both drunk as we're both still drunk, and but I always made it to church, and I just kind of had a little giggle to myself as I looked at this kid who was the altar server, and I'm standing there, and we're both kind of like still whatnot drunk, and we both kind of have a smirk to each other. It's kind of funny because I almost burnt his face off 3 hours earlier. So I kind of put those two in the same basket that evening.
Totally. Two different communities.
Yeah, and it's just community, right?
It's just community.
But having said that, church and whatnot, but not big into the idea. But after it was done, I mostly wanted just to go just to see the people, friends. It's the community in your town, right? It's the person who gave you a haircut. It's their teachers, the guy that fixed your truck, your coach,
sneaky uncle,
the town rapist.
He's part of the town.
Community.
Part of us all. A part of us all.
Yeah.
Part of us all.
Just gonna have a quick meat break here. 1 sec.
Meat? Skunk meat. Yeah. I know. I was wondering too. Meat.
All right. Holy shit! It's hot in here all of a sudden. Is it me?
Skunk meat.
Is that me?
It's,
No, seriously though. No, it's your vents.
windows were open.
No, your vents are blasting hot air.
No, they're not. Oh, your side is. Oh, it's
Yeah.
because I went like this.
Oh, okay.
It's gotta,
Just
your side
recalibrate?
has to recalibrate itself. It will.
Gotcha.
Just do this. It'll get colder.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I actually felt hot air, and I was thinking, shit, that skunk meat might have been bad, but
It might be.
no,
That wasn't dried skunk.
not usually bad. What's that?
That wasn't dried skunk meat.
It was slightly wet, a little moist. Yeah. So coming up on Rosetown, haven't had a coffee yet today. What is it? 11:30? Look at you with your analog clock.
Yeah.
Shit, man, it's like back in the day. Neal's writing back there. Good to see. I like to see.
Online.
That's okay. If you want to write, you can write. This doesn't matter. I'm just testing it out. Just free flow. Getting used to it.
Are we back, or are we just?
We're back.
Oh,
I do like, speaking of things like that, just bring things together. That's what I love. I've said before about podcasting. Like, it just seems to just create realer conversations. Not realer, but you explore them more. Yeah. Whereas, if you're traveling like this, chances are you'd have music going. There's conversation in and out. But I like that it's one of those things that brings people together to have conversations. And you always hear podcasters saying that, like, fuck, we never hang out, and then we do a podcast, and it's awesome, because you sit down with the intention of interacting. I'm going to put my mind out there, and you reflect it back at me and tell me what's going on in your world, and
yeah, it's like
so we can learn from each other.
Sorry. It's like what you said earlier, kind of going back to, there's always a focus, like booze or whatnot, or Jesus or whatnot.
It's just basically.
But it's like imagine if we didn't always have the TV in the living room as a focus, and the conversations like a podcast was the focus. In like the past 20 years or something, instead of. Imagine if that was more of the norm than just the TV being the focus with video games or whatnot. I like watching movies, of course, but, trying to live our lives through dramas of shows and emotionally invest yourself in all these characters and shows and what's going on. You're pissed off at Angela because he cheated on Derek and all this stuff. And
he did.
I got to look like, and I don't look as good as Angela because she has the money to look good and buy $5,000 jeans on Rodeo Drive. I
like it. Imagine if more couples did that. Like if couples podcasted together, it's like just pushing you to have a conversation. After 30 years of marriage or something, you've got your routines are so ironed into. You watch your shows together or whatever. But if you were like sat down every night and like, we're gonna have a 1 hour conversation, it's not good to force it, obviously, but there's just something about the ritual of sitting down with an intention that makes it happen. It's like turning a thought, projecting a thought ahead to create a reality.
See,
bestiality is a reality.
I don't speak Chinese.
It's just a yes.
Spanish.
It's an affirmative. Mostly my thoughts.
When I see that big pile of hay, I just think, holy shit, that could burn easily.
Especially how dry it is.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, at the farm yesterday, that's what Graham was saying right before he left. Oh, tell these guys there's a band renting the studio right now. Jordan Smith and
they're there right
Friends of Foes. Yeah, he just came in last night to get the feel of the place and get the layout, and then they're starting today. But, there's out at the fire pit, there's just piles of brush on the fire pit and right behind it, and it looks so tempting to just throw a match in there and have a wicked fire, but it was so bone dry until last night. It rained for like half an hour or something.
Not very much.
A little bit of rain out there. Yeah, it killed all the dust, but no, it's still pretty damn dry out there.
Is there still a fire ban? Like,
I believe they're
most of the province, right? I mean, there was. I heard it was canceled, but I can't imagine that. Like, we only had like 2 rains, and they were sparse. Saskatoon got none.
Yeah, Graham just mentioned it yesterday, so I guess there is. I haven't heard anywhere else, just other than from you guys.
Yeah, no. Up at Dalmany, there was a bit that one night about a week ago where it rained for a good, like you say, about a half an hour. But it was crazy. We planted a garden out there, and it had been rototilled, so there was like the loose earth on top. And it rained like I say, about 25 minutes, half an hour, pretty good. And after the rain stopped, and it was like pouring, we went over to the garden. Give me a score of that. Oh yeah, such a mist. After it rained, we go over to the garden, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, this looks great. Like, we don't need to water tonight. It got a good little soak. And I picked up a clump of earth and just squeezed it, and it just popped, and poof, it was just dust. Like, it just coated the outside of the dirt. It was, man, we need rain bad.
It was like the sheddings of soil. It's just the dead skin of it. I love when people say earth instead of dirt.
Yeah. Earth. It's a rare earth.
I dug my hands into the earth.
Terra firma.
Are we getting coffees here?
Yeah, I think so. If you guys want to, I'm down.
Was that a 7-Eleven before?
No, the 7-Eleven's up at the four-way stop.
Pretty sure that was
I
a 7-Eleven before.
No, that was a Shell station, dude.
Oh.
They got. I think
That was
they
a Dairy
actually
Queen before.
have their
It still
one
is.
light signal here now. It used to be a four-way stop. Rosetown's actually got a light now.
The KFC
Nice.
used to be here.
We should get a picture of that for the podcast.
I think they got it like 5 years ago. Actually, I brought my camera, by the way.
I stayed in that hotel when I was 17. Played hockey here, and I busted open my elbow. Pressure busted. Like, I fell on the ice and it popped
So
open.
just a dull thud that
Yeah,
smacked it open.
and I was wearing a white jersey, and everyone's like, "Holy fuck, your white jersey, your left arm is completely red." And that's when I noticed, I had an injury. I was still able to put in a sneaky backhand goal, though, with my after the injury. But we did lose like 16-1. But I did get the only goal that night. But then I had to go to, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, I had to go to the hospital in Rosetown. They have a hospital. And they stitched me up. And I do have a little bit of a scar. It looks like a little worm in the back of my elbow.
I've seen it before.
Is that it? Or it might be the other elbow.
Yeah, a little bit of a scar right here.
Oh yeah.
No, I think it might be that one. No,
No, it looks
maybe
like
it
elephant skin.
disappeared. Maybe when I go like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, that is it. It's a
That's
little bit of a remnants of it there.
Yeah.
When you put your arm, yeah.
But our team was on a 4-day trip.
Tourney?
A tourney. No, not tournament. It was a road trip, and I couldn't play the rest of the games. Yeah.
That's sad as fuck.
So, but I was still on the bus because it was a charter bus, so I still had to continue on to the trip because I was. But it hurt all night, all night.
That winning sense in the team.
Yeah, they lost.
Did you? Oh,
What's that?
okay. Well, let's leave it right there.
Well, I
At the loss.
What really quickly here? I don't think that counts as a light. Rosetown. That's just a four-way stop with one red blinker.
got to pee on my penis really bad.
Me too.
With a body of water as bridges.
Like Saskatoon has like a grand total of 4.
4 bridges, and a
4,
typical size
5
city
now.
has like 30.
Yeah.
8.
Like, yeah, you go to Kandahar. No, wait. Maybe there's no rivers flowing through Kandahar.
Kandahar, Saskatchewan?
Whoa.
Because there's a
right, there
is
is.
a Kandahar,
Jeez.
Saskatchewan. It has no
I
bridges.
forgot.
Well, it has a little bridge.
I was thinking more of a place there might be a drone strike. Dustier regions. The Middle East. Sorry.
The number 10 what highway is the main highway through like? No, like Saskatchewan. Number 10.
The 16 goes right across.
Number 1.
Trans-Canada, baby.
Oh yeah. That's pretty dusty, kind of desert like. Well,
Plains.
plains.
Definitely getting some rain just to the north of us.
Oh, yeah.
much,
We got
though?
some rain on the north here. Okay, coming down. We can see it's up in there in the north. There's no telling 50, 60 kilometers away. It might be 30, might be 20. Could be coming right at us. Might be heading the other way. We don't know. It's hard to say. The other day I was listening to a Radiolab podcast. Have you checked out any Radiolabs?
Not for a while, but yeah, it's a great show.
Yeah, it's really well put together and edited and concise. This one was about these like Nazi camps in the States after the war. Like all the prisoners of war were taken in these Nazi camps, and like every every state except Vermont had Nazi camps, and they would work on like local farms and stuff like that. And
Prisoners of war and whatnot.
exactly, yeah, prisoners of war. And there was 500,000 of them in the States, these Germans. And anyway, this thing got all into the Geneva Convention, and how like there was a lot of blowback because all of a sudden, like, you know, when they first got off the train, the people didn't know how to treat them. They're like, these are the fucking Nazis, you know, we hate these people, but at the same time, these are prisoners and they're coming to live in our camps, you know, how are we going to treat them? So it was really interesting, and highly recommend it. I forget what I was getting at now.
We're looking at the weather.
We're looking at the weather. Geneva, just switching gears. Really forget what I was talking about. Radio Lab, the podcast, the Germans, prisoners, the camps, work in the land, the weather, roses. We're getting there. Wild Rose, Golden Girls, Rose, Dorothy,
Rose,
Blanche.
Rose Island.
Getting wild.
Blanche, that's what I'm talking about. Blanche. Who didn't think, like, even when you were a kid, when you'd watch Golden Girls, you know she's the hot one just because the way she acts. She's the slutty one. So it's like, Blanche, that's the one that puts out.
Yeah, exactly. She's down. She's DTF.
Exactly. Down to fun times.
I thought Sophia was kind of cute.
She was kind of like
Italian.
Should have been like kissing a peanut.
Wow. You just want to put something on those glasses?
What was Sophia's last name on the show? Sophia. Because it wasn't the same last name as
She was Dorothy's mom, right?
Yeah, it was Dorothy's mom.
Dorothy probably had been divorced. I don't know.
Sophia was always on Dorothy's ass all the time. Hey, like
As a mom must be.
yeah, it's true. And
It's a must.
What's the Dorothy actress? What's her name in real life?
Oh, I don't know.
B. Arthur.
That's right, B. Arthur.
She died a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Passed away, we say. Passed away.
Passed away. Passed into the spirit world.
R.I.P.
Left her body. What if culture just changed in the next 5 years, and that's like the new accepted term is left your body? People just start saying that. We don't say dead anymore. We just all accept that. No, they've just left the shell, spirit.
Dead is so harsh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's coming.
He's dead, just like a dead cat. He's just dead.
Did you? I was checking out this one thing about, you know, how they like the typical way, I guess, burying people in coffins and whatnot, and I saw on the internet that they would put a person in like some kind of you'd be planted, like there'd be a tree planted where you were buried, and you would be the like nutrients and whatnot for that tree.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then you plant trees all over the place, and your body is being used to help this tree grow.
Well, either
kind of
way,
back in the earth, really back in the earth, and kind of, you know, circle of life.
Either way, you're pretty much worm food, right? But like, I guess that depends on whether or not you're buried in some kind of like hermetically sealed casket after your body's been pumped full of embalming fluids and sapped of all of whatever organic nutrients there might be left in it. Which that whole thing, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but like the preservation and displaying of a body in the modern sense is really a 19th century thing that came out of the Civil War in the U.S. And they had they basically were sending people home to their families. We have a phone call.
Oh,
We have a phone call.
see if it's
Who is it?
it's a work thing.
Denied.
Denied.
Nice.
All right.
That'd go.
Oh yeah, I
Good
forgot
job.
to call him the other day. Shit. Oh well.
But anyway, yeah, this like preserving bodies for funerals and for displaying them was a Civil War thing that they were sending in the States, sending bodies back home, and they wanted to be able to display them. People were, understandably upset about having their beloved sent home with their bodies just mangled and unrecognizable, and so that's when they developed all these practices of preserving bodies.
That makes sense, and I think it's nasty, you know, just from not knowing the history of it. I feel like for myself, like I just want to be thrown in a dirt pit. Just put me in a dirt pit where you can actually decompose. It makes sense with everything else.
For sure. And that is another movement that's happening now. I mean, I should specify, like, we've been doing all kinds of like ceremonial ritual burial and funerary rites for years and years, and there were different kinds of methods of preservation, but like the modern ones where you're like, yeah, all your fluids are taken out and you're pumped full of embalming fluid. That's all within the last 150 years. But it's cool that you mentioned that, like, it's now turning around, but there are laws built up around this, and yeah, the governments have to move on allowing people to bury bodies in a normal way, because like there's this ridiculous commercial industry set up around putting your dead corpse in the ground full of chemicals and in this fucking $15,000 box so that you can never decompose as you're supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. It really carries over from ancient Egyptian fucking ceremonial rituals, and we just westernize it into a fucking big gross industry. Yeah.
Expensive industry. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, I think you're putting in like some kind of pod
For
in a
the
hole.
tree thing?
For
the tree planting?
so the body goes in this pod in the dirt, like just in the dirt, and then
That's awesome.
a tree is planted from.
Do you know where that came from? Where that, like, which culture did that or whatever?
I don't know. I might be just a kind of a new thing.
Oh, it's not like a thing they do in India or something? Or
No, I just saw it on, like, you know, on Facebook. You see, like, I don't know what website it was, like the Mind Unleashed or something like that. Kind of just had a little.
Could be your grandma right there.
Yeah, right there. That would be cool. That'd be
I
really
think
cool.
it
Just
would be
make
cool.
sure
I
you
love
water it.
The symbolism of it's beautiful, you know. Instead of going to a stone where you know their dead body was, because you know their bodies. There's no tricking, you know. No matter how well it's preserved and they're underground, they're in this hermetically sealed box. They're not there. They're gone. The body's still a shell. But at least, yeah, there's something beautiful about that. If you know the body's buried there, and whatever they do, put it in some kind of pod that I imagine is, you know, obviously biodegradable, and it's going to just biodegrade into nutrients for this tree that's growing there. At least that symbolism is accurate with what's happening. Like, you know that the body is biodegrading, going back into the earth, and the nutrients are going into this. And then you have this living thing that symbolizes, you know, your grandma or whatever right there, that you could go and visit and sit and be with, you know, the memory that you have of them, rather than go sit at this stone in a yard, you know, with all the other bodies around in their hermetically sealed boxes underground, where the other people are putting flowers and LED lights on the graves.
It sounds and feels less morbid, you know, less like dead box, you know, dark. And then you're putting the ground and the tree, yeah, like
Less
that symbol
finality
idea
to it.
is, yeah.
There's more of the continuity, and like, yeah, there's all these like cultural practices that like are built up around funerals and ceremonies that we don't do anymore, that people used to have, like wakes, where you'd actually have a party, where it was actually a party because death was in your household so much more within the last like 200 or 300 years, where when someone in your family died, they'd stay in the home for a certain amount of days, and you'd have a party around their body, basically, to send them off, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that idea. And it's congruent with the experience. Whenever you have, you know, those kind of things happen around, like when Christine's grandma passed away here, whatever, a few months ago, or no, shit, it's been almost a year now, I guess. I don't know. Quite a while. 9 months maybe. But when that happened, just everybody coming together, it was a totally positive thing. I hadn't been to a funeral since I was a young kid, so I didn't, you know, I kind of had an expectation of it, but it was like just beautiful. Everyone's memories of who that person is, and the symbols that represent them, like butterflies always reminded her daughters of their mom, so they see butterflies and they feel like, oh, that's mom, and it was just a really positive thing, you know, everybody getting together. It didn't feel like this mourning of death. It was just like a last celebration of, you know, everybody's intentions focusing on this person right now in this final, well, you know, they're already dead, but it just gives them that one last, could be like a push off to the spirit world or whatever. Everybody's focusing on them and what they love about them, and we're gonna miss them. And it's, I don't know. It just feels like it's a good finalizing. It's a nice, gives everybody some. What's the word I'm looking for? Closure.
Absolutely.
I always thought about like why do you have to wear black? Like let's wear white. Let's celebrate this person's life. It's, you know, I wore white one time to my cousin's funeral, and everyone kind of asked me kind of in a, you know, why are you wearing white? I'm like, I don't know, just celebrate his life. I don't know. I've been to a lot of funerals, and it's always so just.
You can be sad the person's gone, but you know, happy about what they
accomplished in their life,
had, who they were. My nephew, I had a nephew who was born with a congenital deformity, congenital diaphragmatic hernia, and we knew that he would be essentially he would die as soon as he was born, and I wore a bluish sweater to his funeral, and I remember kind of getting the feedback that it was like inappropriate, and it was, I don't know, like it just, that symbolism around the color, it never really, that kind of thing doesn't occur to me. It's like, I don't know, that I find those sorts of things sort of like a pervasive, nefarious kind of thing where you have to subscribe to some sort of display that shows, you know, like wearing the poppy on Remembrance Day. Like I don't need to wear the poppy to respect people that were in the armed forces. And what if I don't want to because I have issues with, say, the way the government's running their Ministry of Veteran Affairs, or even just like what the country's embroiled in right now. You know, it's like, just because you don't subscribe visually to some sort of thing, you know, you're immediately outcast.
Yeah, it reminds me of in North Korea, like when the great leader died, everyone was supposed to cry, and if you weren't crying, like when they were interviewing the person, they were thrown in prison or something.
Yeah, like nationalism and patriotism, they're sort of
to prove that you're sad about this.
Yeah, those are kind of, anyway. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, right, the funeral. I was wearing a bluish sweater, and I got the feedback that it was inappropriate. I mean, I carried the cross in the ceremony, so I was highly visible. But, I mean, I had the option as well to wear black, and I didn't want to, you know. I almost felt like, if anything, it's not that I didn't necessarily subscribe to the idea of it by not believing in what it meant, but that I was maybe actively protesting it by choosing not to wear black.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I picture, just funny, I realizing as we're talking about this, like because I remember going to one funeral when I was a kid. I think I waited in the car even when my grandma was there. I might have peeked in the church or something. And then, yeah, very few funerals in my life anyway, kind of just brushing by them. But I realize that every impression that I have of what a funeral is from TV. Picture like episodes of Fresh Prince or whatever. You know, people have a big everyone's dressed in black and black hats, and everyone's got Kleenex and they're wiping their eyes.
Sorry, wait, until you were what age?
Well, I really didn't actually attend a funeral until, when that Tara girl died, I went to her.
Higginbotham?
Yeah, Higginbotham, where I went to her funeral, but I was like 23 or 24 or something. So really, yeah, I just hadn't been to funerals. I had no idea. But yeah, every image I have was from TV shows where everyone's dressed in black and they're carrying tissues around, wiping their eyes, and they walk up to this body, and then usually something comical happens. The body falls out of the coffin or something. But yeah, that was like the only images I've had of funerals until I actually attended one. But I could picture something, if everyone was wearing white. Just picture that, like picture the exact same party if everyone was wearing white. It's like a different thing. Like especially if you think you subscribe to any kind of Christian faith or believing that somebody's going to heaven or a higher place, you'd think it would be like representative of the light, like they're going to the light or something, not like dark, deep, you know, sadness. Like you still have to mourn, but it's almost, is it cycling it? Is it just like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on like which culture you're in and how they're looking at it. And I think like you're kind of alluding to. I think it's odd that we live in a Judeo-Christian society, or at least predominantly, and like within that culture, the funeral ceremonies are always kind of shrouded in that. You know, there is the symbolism and the talk about them moving on to, you know, heaven essentially, but still people, it's like you are expected to wear black, because it's like you have to have this like period of mourning and you have to symbolize it by wearing black. So I mean, I can understand that, and that's fine, you know, if you subscribe to it. I guess what I'm just saying is like, if you don't, you shouldn't have to like exclude people from their own experience by saying like, well, you need to wear black too, or, you know, that just goes to I don't know, I'm sure there's a word that's escaping me throughout this conversation that I'm really looking for when I'm talking about, you know, like nationalism, patriotism, religious, the same kind of fervent, I don't know, adherence that's necessary in religious rites and so on. You know, it's like
Fundamentalism.
Yeah, well, not even fundamentalism, just the way that those different isms strive to enforce themselves by being exclusionary to people who don't adhere or subscribe to their policies or practices, you know?
Yeah, there's that common thread throughout that I believe in it. The more I believe in it, the more you have to believe in it, right? It's the more that I subscribe to this, the more I'm going to judge you for not subscribing to it.
All right. We'll be back next week with part 2, where we finish the journey, play the Metal Fest, which you won't hear, and then we turn around and drive home, and you hear all about what happened at the Metal Fest. What happened at Calgary Metalfest? Well, I'll tell you. It involves fruit and old ladies, and it is delicious. Please join us next week. Part 2 of my chat with Jon and Nealz in Jon's now defunct Chrysler 300 Gangster Mobile. Thanks for coming out. Conjecture time. See you next week.
Have you ever played charades at a funeral?
It's awesome.
Have you ever seen a mime at a funeral?
They're great.
Mimes, blow-up houses, games, prizes, challenges, competitions, scavenger hunts. Is it behind the coffin? Is it underneath the coffin? No, it's in the coffin. We keep the fun in funeral. Prizes, mimes, sweepstakes, 50-50. At Fanny's Funtastic Funerals, we take the boring out of planning that funeral. Treats, door prizes, Fanny's Funtastic Funerals. There's more to life than death, so have a ball. You can't spell funeral without fun. These funerals are the funnest funerals around. Fanny's Funtastic Funerals. Fun, 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 fun. Fun, 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 fun. Fun, 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 fun. Fun, 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 fun. Fun.